Have you ever stopped to think about what an animal would do for love? In the wild heart of the African savannah, where the sun burns the cracked earth and the wind carries the dry scent of dust and freedom, a remarkable story forever changed the destiny of a man and a king of beasts. In Mariel National Park, South Africa, a majestic lion, leader of his pride, fell victim to a cruel trap. Alone, wounded, and trapped, he roared desperately for help. But what happened next? The lionesses, those fierce queens of the savannah, demonstrated a loyalty so profound it'll make your heart race. And a ranger, driven by extraordinary courage and deep empathy, risked everything to save this four-legged stranger. Can you believe one single moment could bond man and beast forever? This story is about protection, trust, and a connection that transcends species. Every roar, every step in the savannah, every exchanged glance draws you deeper into this narrative. And what occurred years later, well, that'll leave you utterly speechless. Get ready for a journey filled with tension, hope, and the unmistakable feeling that the universe is whispering a profound lesson. Are you ready to dive into this savannah adventure with me? The scorching sun of Mariel National Park bathed the savannah in gold, and the air hummed with the buzz of insects. In a clearing, a mighty lion, with a mane black as coal, lay trapped. A poacher's trap, its iron teeth biting into his paw, held him fast. His roars echoed, not with fury, but with pain. Ever felt a pang in your chest hearing a cry for help? Right there, 5 lionesses, his pride's companions, didn't flee. They formed a circle around their leader, eyes gleaming, ears alert, like guardians of a sacred temple. Male lions can weigh up to 550 pounds, but it's the lionesses who hold the pride's heart, hunting and protecting with fierce loyalty. They didn't attack or retreat, they stood firm. Pause and picture it. What would you do for someone who depends on you? Dust rose in clouds as the lionesses exchanged glances, as if speaking without words. The scent of blood mingled with the dry heat, and tension hung in the air. These females, who could have abandoned their wounded leader to survive, chose to stay. Who hasn't seen an animal show more courage than we do? The lesson here is simple: loyalty isn't just instinct, it's a choice. In everyday life, that means showing up, even when it's tough, like listening to a friend in silence or holding someone's hand when they need it. The lionesses didn't budge, but their eyes said it all: he was their king, and they wouldn't leave him. But then, a distant sound cut through the savannah. What was that? If you love heartwarming animal stories, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any. The savannah is unpredictable, and danger was near. The lionesses held their circle, but something new was approaching. The rumble of an engine, maybe? Lionesses can recognize allies even in stressful moments, using cues like the tone of a roar or a scent on the breeze. They sensed a shift but didn't attack. Have you ever trusted someone without knowing what was coming? A stranger's arrival was about to change everything. How would they react to a human in the savannah? The lion, exhausted, lowered his head, but the lionesses kept watch. The trap, rusty and cruel, seemed to mock the king's strength. The wild is like that, brutal, yet full of deep bonds. The scene was a reminder: sometimes, protecting those we love means standing still, but ready. Practical tip: when someone close is in trouble, sometimes the greatest support is just being there, steady, without running. The savannah held its breath, and the engine's rumble grew louder. A human was coming. Would he be friend or foe? The jeep's roar sliced through the savannah's silence, and the smell of gasoline mixed with the dry scent of red earth. Cabello, a park ranger with wrinkles etched by years of sun and dust, drove alone, tires crunching against rocks. He heard the trapped lion's roar, a sound that seemed to tear the sky. Ever felt that shiver telling you something big is at stake? Cabello, with just a tranquilizer dart and a radio with no signal, didn't hesitate. Park rangers in South Africa face, on average, 10 wildlife incidents a year, often without backup. He knew the savannah doesn't forgive mistakes, but the call to courage was stronger. Who'd be crazy enough to face a wounded lion? Take a deep breath and picture the scene. The jeep stopped a few yards from the pride. Under the orange glow of dusk, the lionesses raised their heads, eyes sparking like embers. Cabello stepped out, his heart pounding so loud it seemed to echo across the savannah. He saw the lion, trapped, his paw bleeding, and the lionesses circling, vigilant. Ever wondered what you'd do facing 5 wild beasts staring you down? The lesson here is practical. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but acting despite it. In daily life, that could mean sending that tough text or facing a problem head-on. Cabello gripped the dart, but something made him pause. Tranquilizing the lion could be deadly. Now what would he do? The lionesses didn't charge. It was as if they sensed Cabello's intent, a silent pact between man and beast. The breeze carried the faint sound of birds, but in that moment, only they existed: the ranger, the lion, the lionesses. Lions can judge human intentions by tone of voice or slow movements, something Cabello, with years of experience, knew how to use. He approached, step by step, the ground warm beneath his boots. Would you have the guts to trust an instinct like that? The trap gleamed in the sun, a metal monster holding the king. But how could he free it without risking everything? Cabello crouched, sweat dripping down his brow, and looked into the lion's eyes. There was pain there, but also strength. Trust between them began to sprout, fragile but real. Practical tip: sometimes, the deepest connection comes from mutual respect, like listening without judging. The lionesses, still, seemed to approve. But then, the unexpected happened. The lion tried to stand, and the trap creaked loudly. Time was running out. Could Cabello pry open that iron before nightfall? The savannah darkened, and the air now carried the damp coolness of approaching night. Cabello, on his knees, faced the trap gripping the lion, its cold, rusty metal biting into the king's paw. The sound of the iron creaking rang out like a wail. Ever felt the weight of a choice that could change everything? Tranquilizing the lion was risky. Tranquilizers can cause heart failure in lions if the dose or stress is too high. Cabello chose to trust his hands, and the lionesses calm, watching him, still as living statues. Pause for a second and feel this: 1 man, 5 beasts, a silent pact. How could he stay steady under those gazes? The lionesses, their golden eyes glowing in the twilight, seemed to judge every move. The scent of wet earth rose from the ground, mixed with the metallic tang of blood. Cabello, with trembling fingers, began to force the trap, the metal resisting as if alive. Ever thought about what a single act of trust can build? The lesson here is clear: trust is built through actions, not words. In everyday life, that could be as simple as keeping a small promise or listening with full attention. The lionesses didn't advance, as if they knew this human was different. But time was slipping away, and the lion groaned softly. Would the iron give? Lions can form bonds of trust with humans in extreme situations, based on calm, consistent gestures. Cabello, sweating, kept his voice low, almost a whisper, as he wrestled with the trap. The lion, exhausted, locked eyes with him, as if understanding the effort. Have you ever had a moment where a glance said more than 1,000 words? The empathy between them grew, a bond across species that seemed to defy logic. The trap started to yield, but a loud snap made the lionesses bristle. What was happening? Finally, with one last push, the metal sprang open, and the lion's paw, wounded but free, touched the ground. Cabello stepped back, heart racing, as the lionesses approached their leader, sniffing him gently. The tension dissolved like mist in the sun, and the savannah seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Practical tip: sometimes, risking something for someone, human or animal, creates bonds that last a lifetime. Night fell, and the lion, still weak, tried to rise. But how would he and the lionesses respond to Cabello now? Night blanketed the savannah, and the sky unfurled a tapestry of stars, so bright it seemed to pulse with life. The lion, now free but weak, rested on soft earth, the scent of wild herbs rising around him. The lionesses, in an almost ceremonial act, licked his wounds, their soft rumbles echoing like a lullaby. Ever witnessed a moment so pure it felt like the universe was aligned? Cabello, a few yards away, watched, his heart full of something he couldn't name. Male lions, despite their strength, rely on lionesses to heal wounds, their licks cleaning and aiding recovery. Pause for a moment and see it: a king, vulnerable, cared for by his pride. What did this moment say about connection? One by one, the lionesses approached the lion, rubbing their heads against his, a ritual of affection and relief. The sound of the breeze dancing through acacias seemed to carry a whisper of gratitude. Cabello, still holding his flashlight, felt a chill, not of fear, but of awe. Ever had a moment that felt bigger than you? The lesson here is simple: true bonds, whether between humans or animals, thrive in shared vulnerability. In daily life, that could mean letting someone see your softer side or supporting without expecting anything back. The lionesses asked for nothing, they just gave. But then, the lion raised his head and looked at Cabello. What did that look mean? Lions can show recognition through prolonged gazes, a rare sign of emotional connection with humans. The lion, his mane tangled, fixed his eyes on Cabello, as if etching the moment into memory. The ranger, almost without realizing, smiled, feeling an invisible bridge between species. Have you ever shared a look with an animal that seemed to read your soul? The savannah, now quiet, seemed to hold that moment, as if the sky itself bore witness. Cabello knew this wasn't the end. How would this bond endure over time? The lionesses lay around the lion, forming a protective semicircle, as he slowly regained strength. Cabello, exhaustion weighing on his shoulders, returned to his jeep, but something made him glance back. The scene, the pride united under the stars, was a reminder: survival isn't just strength, it's love. Practical tip: cherish the small moments of connection in your life, like a hug or a look that says it all. The lion was safe, but what would happen in the weeks to come? Would Cabello see them again? Weeks passed, and the savannah woke to the hoarse calls of birds and heat rising from the ground like a wave. Cabello returned to Mariel National Park, his radio crackling softly in the jeep, the scent of dry grass filling the air. He sought the pride, driven by a curiosity that felt stronger than himself. Ever felt an ache only explained by wanting to see someone special again? The lion, his paw nearly healed, roamed with the pride, his mane swaying like a living crown. Lions can remember humans who helped them for years, thanks to their sharp social memory. Cabello spotted the group from afar, and his chest tightened with emotion. Pause for a moment and feel it. What would it be like to reunite with a friend after a life-changing moment? The lionesses, alert, noticed the jeep first, but instead of growling, they pricked their ears, curious. The lion, majestic, stopped and looked at Cabello, a calm, almost familiar gaze. The sound of their paws crushing the grass was the only noise in the silent savannah. Ever thought about what an animal can teach you about gratitude? The lesson here is practical: small acts of respect build lasting bonds, like a genuine smile or a selfless favor in daily life. Cabello stepped out of the jeep, unarmed, hands open. The lionesses, instead of advancing, relaxed, as if saying, "You're one of us now." But what would this mutual respect reveal over time? Repeated interactions between humans and lions can build trust so strong that the animals tolerate human presence without threat. On one visit, a younger lioness approached Cabello, sniffing the air with a soft, almost playful rumble. Have you ever had an animal that seemed eager to know you better? Cabello chuckled softly, awed by her curiosity, a light moment that broke the savannah's tension. He began visiting the pride regularly, each encounter strengthening a bond across species. But something new was coming. What did the future hold for this connection? Cabello noticed the lion, now stronger, leading the pride with renewed energy, never straying far from the lionesses. The savannah, with its cycle of life and death, seemed to bless their mutual respect. Practical tip: nurture relationships with patience, like tending a plant, whether with a friend, colleague, or even a pet. The pride's protection and loyalty reminded Cabello of something bigger, almost spiritual, as if nature thanked his courage. He treasured each visit, but a question lingered: how long would this bond withstand the savannah's changes? The sun rose over the savannah, painting the horizon in fiery hues, while the fresh scent of dew hung in the air. Cabello, perched on a rock, watched the pride from afar, the lion leading with steady steps, the lionesses around him like a living shield. The sound of their soft roars resonated, a symphony of the wild. Ever stop to wonder what nature can teach about what truly matters? Cabello reflected on that night of rescue, when courage, loyalty, and trust collided in a moment that felt guided by something greater. Lions live in prides because cooperation boosts their survival odds by 50%, a reminder that even kings need support. Close your eyes for a second and feel it. What would the savannah say if it could speak to you? Each visit to the pride reinforced a truth for Cabello: devotion knows no boundaries, whether between humans or animals. The warm breeze brushed his face, carrying the scent of living earth, as he thought about how the lionesses protected their leader without hesitation. Ever felt an emptiness only a true bond can fill? The lesson here is practical. Cherish those by your side, be it a friend, family, or a pet that never leaves you. In daily life, that could be an unexpected call or a kind gesture for no reason. The lionesses taught that protection is an act of love, but Cabello wondered, what else did nature want him to learn? Lions express complex emotions, like gratitude, through subtle behaviors, like approaching without threat. One morning, the lion neared Cabello, stopping a few yards away, just watching, as if sealing a silent pact. Have you ever had a moment where an animal seemed to understand you deeply? The emotional connection between them was tangible, an invisible thread linking man and beast. Cabello felt the savannah wasn't just a place, but a mirror of the human soul, where loyalty and empathy shine brightest. But how would this story echo beyond the savannah? Cabello returned to work, but carried the pride in his heart. The savannah, with its brutal and beautiful lessons, changed him forever. Practical tip: observe the nature around you, a bird, a tree, a dog, and see what it teaches about resilience and connection. The story of the lion and his lionesses was a reminder: survival hinges on bonds, and courage stems from care. As an old African proverb says, a single branch breaks, but a bundle endures. Cabello knew that night under the stars wasn't the end, but the start of something bigger. And now, what will you take from this story for your own life? Under the savannah's endless sky, where the wind whispers ancient secrets, the story of Cabello, the lion, and his lionesses reminds us that life is woven with threads of courage, loyalty, and empathy. The scent of earth and the sound of roars still linger in Cabello's memory, a ranger who faced the king of the jungle and learned the true kingdom is the heart. Ever stop to think what an animal can teach about being human? The wild, with its raw strength and unexpected tenderness, shows us that protecting those we love, trusting despite fear, and building bridges across species are acts that transcend the ordinary. The practical lesson is simple, yet powerful: live with the lioness's devotion, Cabello's courage, and the lion's trust. In daily life, that could be a tight hug, a kind word, or a quiet moment with someone who needs you. And you, have you ever had an animal that changed your life? Share it in the comments. If this story warmed your heart, the next video YouTube suggests will move you even more. Don't miss it. Like, subscribe, and join us for more stories that show how nature reflects the best in us.